My name is Mary Katherine Faulkner, and I am a member of the League of Women Voters of Duluth and a trained and certified League of Women Voters moderator. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Duluth, I would like to thank the candidates for their willing to participate in government and this pre-primary election forum for the At-Large City Council of Duluth seats. This forum will be presented on PACT-TV and linked to the League of Women Voters of Duluth website. The League posts complete, unedited recordings of forums. Editing is authorized only for the official media reporting. Excerpts or edited clips of candidate forums may not be used for partisan political purposes. You may share this forum in its entirety. The League of Women Voters believes that an informed citizenry is the foundation of effective democracy. The League is open to membership for men and women who are interested in nonpartisan civic participation. It is a volunteer organization working at the local, state, and national level to encourage citizens to participate in government. While we as a League do study and take stands on issues, we do not endorse or support political parties or candidates. The views expressed at this forum are those of the participating candidates, and not those of the League of Women Voters of Duluth. And sponsorship of this forum is not a League endorsement of any individual candidates participating. The League of Women Voters of Duluth is committed to fostering, cultivating, and preserving a culture of diversity, equity, inclusion, access, and belonging for all people. The League is an organization that respects and values the richness of our community and our members. The collective sum of our individual differences and life experiences represents not only our culture, but our reputation and our organization's mission and achievements as well. At this time, I would like to introduce the candidates for Duluth City Council at-Large. Jordon Johnson, Medved, Terese Tomanek. Candidate Estrin-Haire and candidate Motor were unable to attend and have submitted empty chair statements. Our forum will begin with the candidates giving a 2-minute opening statement, followed by the questioning round. Questions have been vetted by a League of Women Voters of Duluth Forum Committee and questions submitted by League members and citizens. Candidates were not given the questions in advance. Each candidate will be given up to 1.5 minutes in which to provide their responses to each question. The questioning round has been set up so that each candidate will be asked the questions in a rotating order. After the question round is complete, each candidate will be allowed a 2-minute closing statement prior to the end of the forum. The candidates will now provide their prepared opening statements. We'll begin with the empty chair statement submitted by candidate Estrin-Haire. I regret my inability to attend this forum. My focus is squarely on affordable housing in Duluth, not by building more houses, but by eliminating corporate ownership of single-family housing and ending the rampant short-term rentals of single-family homes, which leaves us with no starter home inventory for first-time homebuyers, including young medical professionals who cannot afford to live here on starting salaries, which creates shortage of nurses, doctors, and specialists, and that in turn creates long wait lists for evaluations and treatments. It's all connected. I am also focused on companies who are receiving tax incentives in Duluth, as they would be the ones to approach to fund universal childcare in Duluth, which would help our economy by allowing single parents the opportunity to enter the workforce without spending the entirety of their paycheck on childcare. I take no donations, I seek no endorsements, and I am not beholden to anyone, and I am not a career politician. Next is the empty chair statement submitted by candidate Motor. My name is Zach Motor, and I am a candidate for Duluth City Council at-Large. I want to begin by thanking the League of Women Voters and everyone watching this forum for your commitment to making Duluth a better place to live. I regret that I'm unable to be with you in person due to the recent passing of my grandfather. My family and I are attending his funeral and celebrating his life. I appreciate your understanding during this difficult time, and I look forward to returning to the campaign trail in the days ahead. I am running for City Council because I believe Duluth is at a crossroads. I live downtown and experience firsthand the opportunities and the challenges our community faces every day. We need leadership that's not only bold and creative, but grounded in real-life experience and a genuine commitment to all residents. That means prioritizing housing. Safe and affordable homes are essential to a good life, yet too many longtime Duluthians are struggling to find them. I'm especially committed to standing with and listening to renters who often feel powerless when faced with rising costs, poor living conditions, and unresponsive landlords. I believe the city can and must do more to protect tenants, enforce housing standards, and support grassroots organizations like the Duluth Tenants Union, which are already doing so much important work in our community. We need to foster our local creativity and small business growth, invest in public spaces and community events, and be a community that invests in arts, culture, and entertainment. I want Duluth to be a place where opportunities exist, not just for the few, but for everyone, no matter your background, income, or neighborhood. I'm not a career politician or a busy business person. I'm a working class artist, veteran, and entrepreneur trying to give back to the community that shaped me. Like many of you, I've had to overcome challenges and work hard to support people that I love. I know what it feels like to not be heard. That's why I'm committed to being a voice for all Duluthians, especially those who feel left out of the conversation. If elected, I will bring empathy, energy, and accountability to City Hall. I will be fully committed to the last day of my term to representing the voices of people across Duluth and helping to build a city that works for all of us. Thank you again for being here. I look forward to connecting with as many of you as possible in the weeks ahead. If you'd like to learn more about my campaign or share your ideas for Duluth's future, please do not hesitate to contact me at motorforduluth, and it's a number 4.com. I would be honored to earn your support. We will continue with opening statements. First, we will hear from candidate Medved.
Thank you, everybody. First off, thank you to the League of Women Voters for having us here today and hosting us all. And thank you to the voters who are listening in on this video. Derek Medved from the western part of town, born and raised in Gary, New Duluth, by a single mother who raised my sister and I. And she taught us a lot about the value of hard work and, of course, pinching a penny. And so that kind of was the start for myself in business of working really, really hard. She told me one time, if you want something in life, you have to work really, really hard for it. And so that was kind of my beginning to getting into business and focusing on fiscal responsibility, but also taking care of people. One, taking care of the community, the customers that come through the door, and two, the employees and my coworkers that I rely on every day. And so from there, my passion for community service kind of blossomed, and trying to make a difference every step of the way, not only in business, but in politics as well. And I call it the convenience store approach. And I believe that convenience stores and politics have a lot in common. We want to welcome just about everybody through the door, no matter if you drive an electric car or a gas-powered vehicle, whether you drive or drink black coffee or creamer coffee. We have everything for just about anybody. And so the goal and the mission there remains the same. Take care of everybody and get them on the road back to where they need to go. And so I want to bring that to council, my background in business, and focus on housing, public safety, economic development, and public utility are a lot of my passions. And so I hope I can discuss that further on in this video and get down to the basics. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from candidate Tomanek.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here today with my fellow candidates and to the League of Women Voters for hosting us. Being a League member myself, I appreciate the efforts to inform voters of the issues and the candidates' views. My husband and I have owned our own home for over 40 years, so I understand how property taxes affect families, seniors, and people on fixed incomes. We raised our kids here in Duluth, and I want all children to have opportunities to grow and thrive in our city. I have a breadth of experience in working on city issues. I have served on the Earned Safe and Sick Time Commission, Mayor Larson's Child Care Task Force, Mayor Reinert's Tourism Task Force, DEDA, the Public Utilities Commission, the Intergovernmental Commission, the Library Board, Parks and Rec Commission, the Public Safety Commission, to name a few. The relationships I have developed allow me to be in regular conversation with the city administrator, the mayor, the police and fire chiefs and life safety director, the head of planning and economic development, the project organizer for Safe Bay and the Warming Center, and more. I have co-sponsored resolutions to allocate increased funding for our libraries, voted to commit $19 million of our $58 million ARP funds to affordable housing, voted for the funding of the 2025 crisis response team, voted to direct $1 million for the remodel of the third floor of the Damiano Center to provide safe shelter while Chum Housing is expanding. The focus of my continuing work for the next 4 years will be vibrant neighborhoods, community safety, and of course the budget. We know that this will be a difficult budget year, and I've had several meetings already with the mayor and our finance director to work to provide needed city services while being mindful of the impact of our property taxes. Thank you again for this opportunity to share my work and plans for future on the council.
Thank you. And now we'll hear from candidate Johnson.
Good day. My name is Jordon Johnson, and I am running for City Council at Large. And I want to just extend my gratitude for having us here today on the forum and all the work that went into organizing this opportunity to connect with voters. I was born and raised in Duluth and graduated from Marshall School in 1990. Duluth is where I gained my values and roots in learning how to be in struggle. I lived with uncertainty throughout my childhood due to financial instability and housing insecurity. And I trust in the power of connection and working in community to create change. I currently am the associate director at a local nonprofit that focuses on housing, cultural programs, and lending support to upcoming entrepreneurs. I am a first-generation college student with a doctorate in American Studies from the University of New Mexico. In May, I was endorsed by the DFL, the Duluth DFL, and most recently endorsed with the Duluth News Tribune. And I am pursuing additional endorsements with unions and other healthcare professionals, along with recognition badges such as Moms Demand Action. I'm running for City Council because I believe in the power of the people. I'm good at working in partnership with people to make a difference in our community. We can create sustainable and effective change through thoughtful solutions, given the challenges we will be facing, particularly with our budget shortfalls in the upcoming years. I'm grateful for my time to be with you all today, and I just really believe we need transparent, accountable, dedicated leaders, which is why I'm running for City Council at Large.
Thank you. Now we'll move to the questions prepared by the Forum Committee. Each candidate will be given 1.5 minutes to respond, and we'll begin with candidate Johnson. What prompted you to pursue a seat on the City Council, and what strengths would you bring to this position? My fault. Sorry, just writing my little notes. So I believe that we really need dedicated, accountable leadership at the city level. And I have a passion for putting forth policies and standing alongside and working with communities to create change that benefits everyone. I believe also the strengths that I bring is extremely well at listening to the concerns of the people, building relationships, understanding the dynamics that are potentially going to occur with disagreements. And I believe that we need to kind of sit together and, even if we disagree, come to solutions in regards to how we move forward. I also really am adamant about doing our due diligence, asking critical questions when needed, particularly around any development that comes to our city, around housing, economic development opportunities. And so I bring the strengths of what it means to be a community organizer, have a lens to look through in regards to analysis, find the right people to ask questions and work alongside, such as many of our staff here at the city, and kind of believe in the possibility, even when it seems like there's struggles and uncertainty, that there's a lot of opportunity ahead for us in our city because people want to invest in our neighborhoods. Thank you. Thank you. Candidate Tomanek?
Thank you. What prompted me to seek re-election is the continuation of my life of service. I had been a chiropractor, I owned my own business, and then a chaplain working both in the hospital setting and at Woodland Hills Juvenile Treatment Center. I'm an effective leader. I was voted unanimously onto the council by the city council at that time, and also unanimously voted to be president this year, which is an honor. I work well with all the councilors and have sponsored resolutions and ordinances with most all of the councilors. My strengths as a councilor are my listening experience, my chaplaincy training, my experience of being on so many boards and commissions, my relationships that I have developed. When we were thinking about making the first mask ordinance, we called university professors, child care providers, artists, business owners, government leaders, so that we could get a consensus to come up with the best resolution we could. Former Mayor Don Ness has called me a progressive pragmatist. I have changed that a little bit to pragmatism with a heart. I really want to help to make this city a better place for all of us to live. The budget is a concern of mine, but I've been working on that budget for 5 years and have already started working with the mayor and the other city councilors so that we can make that an effective budget for all who live here.
Thank you. Candidate Medved.
Thank you. I believe, for my previous run, unfortunately, leaving early from council due to business has, allowed me to look through a different lens and understand truly what my passions were and why I got into it in the first place. And so for this, second run, I look forward to focusing back on housing, focusing on business, economic development, and really bringing that customer service aspect of my day job into City Hall, and really focusing on where we need to improve, because I do believe there are a lot of customer service aspects we need to improve on. Red tape, cutting back on that, and really giving business owners and developers and even individuals looking to relocate here for economic development, cutting back the red tape is going to be really important. So having that lens that I look through every day, growing a business from 4 to 40 to 80 to 90, now 120 employees, I think is a really good track record that I'd like to bring to the table and focus on growing one business and bringing a lot of things to our community that will, grow our pie for the tax base and of course focusing on a lot of other important things in our community.
Great, thank you. Our next question is, as an at-large candidate representing many neighborhoods, how can you best connect with citizens across the city? And we'll begin with candidate Tomanek.
Thank you so much. I have really enjoyed going out to the meetings at the different neighborhoods. I regularly attend the Gary New Duluth meeting out at the Rec Center, at the Morgan Park Community Club, at Main Street in Lincoln Park, Canal Park business groups. So that is a way to learn about people's concerns, both for their business concerns and for their neighborhood concerns. The other way is that I door knock. 4 years ago, I not only door knocked from one end of the city up to the other, I found my dog, who we adopted from the foster mom when we were out in Riverside. I enjoy having meet and greets with people, and when people email us or call us, I try and get back to people fairly quickly. We have a lot of issues come in, and so sometimes I wait until after we have discussed it at council before I get back to people. But there's a large network of people I connect with in their neighborhoods and talking with them. I think when people take the time to write us or to call us, they bring with them their concerns for their neighborhood, their business, the city of Duluth in general. And it's really important to have those discussions with people. And that's what I love to do, is hear people's stories, listen to them deeply, and see how I can affect the change that would make their life better.
Thank you. We'll now go to candidate Medved. Do you want me to repeat the question?
Staying connected as an at-large candidate.
Correct.
Awesome, thank you. I believe in a time of technology, whether it be emails or phone calls. I think that is the most important, form of communication, but also showing up, whether, Terese, Councilor Tomanek brought up, showing up at community events, staying connected with individuals. But nine times out of 10, I think people like to communicate whenever they're faced with an issue or there is a concern. And I think phone or email are going to be the main point of contacts to be present or invite people down to council meetings. But on my last time serving, the phone. I had a separate phone for council, and I would pick it up day or night on the weekends. And I think that was a really important part of serving, is being available. I don't say 24/7, but when people have concerns, they want to be heard. And so I would make sure to carry both phones, my personal phone and my council phone, with me at all times, because you never know when people, whether it be snow plowing, shoveling. There was an issue where a constituent on a Sunday, their yard was going to be dug up by the city on Monday, and they wanted to have some answers. So I think first and foremost, being responsive and getting back to people, and that's what I will do, if I were to be reelected again.
Thank you. Candidate Johnson.
I believe in building relationships the best I can with any constituent throughout. And the city is at-large is a large area. And the dynamics of our neighborhoods are vastly different. And so it's understanding also which neighborhoods, the issues might look differently given somebody who might be living on the east side, the hillside, or in West Duluth. So through relationships and offering opportunities for people to engage with me is important, such as through community forums. I also think it's really important for people to see myself out and about and show up at events and at gatherings, and to kind of hold rather community conversations the best that I can, and welcome that with my constituents as well. I think also attending the different business districts throughout our city, so we can kind of start to think around a comprehensive kind of plan for our city, and not just kind of siloed kind of districts, but how do we start to really cultivate those relationships throughout the city. I also believe in being communicative, and so responding to people when they do reach out is very important. People want to know that they're heard and that they're being listened to, and I believe in responding to people in an extremely timely manner. And so those are kind of the elements of what I would do to kind of build relationships and stay connected to the constituents.
Thank you. Candidate Johnson, we'll start with you for the next question. Food deserts still exist in the city. Access to food sources affects senior citizens, people with disability, financially disadvantaged individuals and families. Transportation can be a barrier. What is currently being done and what should be done to solve this issue?
So there's a couple ways to answer this, and what I've been talking about recently is we need to really think around what a food ecosystem looks like in our city, where everyone feels supported and has access to healthy food. And so transportation can be a challenge. I think of people who live on the hillside in the winter who might have accessibility concerns or issues. It's difficult to kind of take the bus and then carry groceries up a hill from our transportation kind of main lines. There's also, people are spending a great deal of money now on deliveries. And so how can we kind of reduce the cost in regards to getting food to people and access to food to people in different ways? And so I would really actually welcome a lot of conversations around what makes the most sense given the kind of different dynamics and challenges people are facing. I can't say that I know them all because I do have the kind of benefit and privilege of having a vehicle to get around town. But I really do think around how do we provide opportunities for food systems to be available on multiple fronts in multiple ways. And I think in the coming years, we're going to need to think more and more about this, given then the lack of potential funding cuts around food sources. And I would, again, welcome many conversations moving forward in regards to how to make an effective food ecosystem for our community members.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from candidate Tomanek.
Thank you. The problem of food deserts is really a troubling one, and we've been working to address that. Eco3 saw that need, and I give great credit to the leadership of Eco3. They are opening a grocery store that's been long in the plans for an area that has not been served well by grocery stores. The council has worked to fully fund the DTA so that people can get to grocery stores and get them home. And I want to give a shout out to some of our nonprofits. Age Well Duluth has a program where they have volunteers that will shop for groceries for seniors, and that is much appreciated. In the summer months, we have tremendous farmers markets. There's one on Thursday afternoons from 3 to 6 at Harrison that I frequent often. There's one in next to the Duluth Clinic on Tuesdays from 2 to 5. There's one at City Hall. And at those markets, there are programs to give tokens that will allow seniors and youth to purchase fresh vegetables and produce. So that's an excellent thing. Again, relying on some of our nonprofits, there are churches. I know Asbury Methodist, I believe the Copper Top 2 has Ruby's Pantry. Now, we'd like to have a more stable source of food than that, but we appreciate people reaching out and doing that. Finally, Morgan Park used to have a connection with UMD where the farm would bring produce to Morgan Park. I'm working on getting that program reestablished. So there's much work to be done, and we are working on it. Thank you.
Candidate Medved.
Can you re-ask the question?
I can, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, anytime you need a question repeated, please let me know. Food deserts still exist in the city. Access to food sources affects senior citizens, people with disabilities, financially disadvantaged individuals and their families, and transportation can be a barrier. What is currently being done and what should be done to solve this issue?
Well, first and foremost, I think there are many different avenues we can take on that question. But I believe that transportation, we'll touch base on that one first, is transportation, really understanding what neighborhoods might be struggling and which neighborhoods maybe need additional DTA routes. Maybe they need additional times to be allocated for transportation. And I believe we did that during COVID. I can't remember the name of the loop, but things such as route timing, I think should be looked at. Funding for the DTA needs to be looked at. But when we look out in Gary, my neighborhood, my home neighborhood, we've seen the need after Kmart had closed. A lot of people utilize Kmart in that neighborhood, and that property still sits vacant. We have now a Family Dollar, which does serve a huge part of the community for food. I don't want to say fresh food, but really understanding of the needs of each community and how we can improve it. But there is not one answer that fixes all, which is the unfortunate part. It's going to take many different partners, from UMD, from nonprofits and the city, to understand how we all can come together and serve Lincoln Park, serve Gary, serve the hillside, because it's not one size fits all. Every neighborhood does have multiple barricades in the way that are blocking from a solution. And so I would love to dive into those deeper and understand each one individually and how we can work with stakeholders.
Great, thank you. We'll start with you for the next question, Candidate Medved. What are your ideas for increasing city revenues and/or decreasing city expenses that would have the least impact on taxpayers?
So for me, I believe that economic development is going to be a huge part of it. We need to focus on understanding what we need to step away from, and I want to say divest from, and what we need to invest in and lean into. And there are many ideas that I have. Of course, I would love to share them with constituents, at a later date. I don't want to get into them all right now. But I truly believe that we need to look at, certain things that we are part of currently. Can you answer the question or ask the question one more time?
So what are your ideas for increasing city revenues and/or decreasing city expenses that would have the least impact on taxpayers?
So I want to lean into fully the increasing the tax base, and that is, I think, getting out of our own way and cutting the red tape for development and welcoming businesses, industry as much as we can, and understanding why we're not seeing those developments. And I think that will definitely improve our tax base, and then we can focus on the details of where we need to invest in certain city services and where we need to maybe cut back on certain things that we are part of.
Great, thank you. Candidate Johnson.
Yeah, I appreciate the question because I think it's a critical one. The first area I would want to analyze and kind of explore alternative ways to kind of utilize the tax increment financing, also known as TIF. And so I think there's some other states who have been creative on how to use TIF dollars to kind of generate renovation opportunities in our kind of business districts and that can be a source of helping generate other revenue throughout our city. I would also want to identify economic development opportunities where we are able to find developers who are invested in our community. So we are not just providing tax breaks, but there's an actual care for our community and investment in our community. I think many people are invested in Duluth and want to come to Duluth, but I am cautious. I do not want Duluth to only be about tourism and hospitality, where we become something like area where people just travel to and out of. That there's actually we are building a sustainable workforce in this kind of opportunity. When we have the workforce, that helps build our kind of economic revenue as well. And so the last thing I will just say is just thinking about, we can generate a lot of wealth in our community. There's a lot of knowledge in our city and a lot of individuals that we need to be mindful of. And when we do that as a kind of collaborative effort, I believe that we can actually figure out effective solutions in moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Johnson. Candidate Tomanek.
Thank you so much. In the area of economic development, the city administration has recently reorganized, and we believe that that will streamline the planning and permitting process. We have Director Ben Van Tassel and Manager Tricia Hobbs, who are doing a wonderful job in making it so much easier to start or improve upon a business. As far as economic development goes, we recently added the Sofidel plant is up and running again, adding good paying jobs. Amazon Distribution is out in West Duluth, and they pay corporate taxes, which would really help ease the burden on our property owners. As far as the finding a way to trim the budget, 86% of our city budget goes to salaries, and we want to continue to provide those services that we all rely on. If we grow our commercial base, then we don't have to rely quite as much on individual property taxes. So there are two issues that make this extremely important, and that's housing and childcare. As a recent example of how things are progressing in our city, we will be breaking ground for Brayview, which is a senior affordable housing development on 5th Street and 5th Avenue East, offering 70 housing units for AMI of 30 to 60% affordable mean income. The 1200 fund also supports entrepreneurs, and we know that small businesses add tremendously to the economic development of a city. So we have to look at this as a total package. There's not going to be one simple answer, but it's maintaining our budget that we are looking at it so carefully every year, but especially this year. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Candidate Tomanek, we're going to start with you for the next question. What programs or services for youth in our community are currently working? What could be implemented or changed to improve these programs and services?
Thank you. The Parks and Recreation Department does a wonderful job there's a whole catalog of programs that are offered for children and youth. I happened to go out to one in West Duluth where they brought in mountain bikes, and they take kids out on the trail. They talk about bike safety, they provide helmets, and that's a great opportunity for kids who might not otherwise have that opportunity. There are fishing programs that take kids out and teach them how to fish out in Chambers Grove, and that's a wonderful opportunity. We also are building housing for youth. The Open Doors at Peace Church is a place where students are having supervised care and lots of services offered so that they know what employment opportunities and housing opportunities are available for them in the community. Our school system does a great job, and I think that's a question that we could coordinate with the school district. You probably ask those candidates too. But I think looking at Parks and Rec is an especially important one.
Thank you. Candidate Medved.
Thank you. And I agree with Councilor Tomanek. I think fully Parks and Rec used to play a vital role in the communities and the community centers that we had. I remember myself going to the one in Norton Park and also in Gary and occasionally Morgan Park. But I think we need to lean back into investment there when and how we can to ensure that every neighborhood is served equally across the board from east to west. And again, I think growing up in that environment was part of the fabric of where I am today and why I'm very passionate about it. And so if it's not broke, don't fix it. But of course, we need to dive deeper into the budget and understand where things went wrong. Why did we not keep on investing in community centers to keep them vital and strong in each neighborhood? And so, we looked at Gary, New Duluth, where, again, I was born and raised, and we see the phenomenal, I'll call it the private development of the G&D Rec Alliance, who has worked tirelessly to raise money on their own to add hundreds of thousands of dollars into those rec centers or into that rec center. And I think it's a model that we definitely need to look at how we can multiply that across the city and find private community stakeholders who are willing to step up and invest their hearts and souls into these neighborhoods and these community centers. So I would like to say that we had a model within the city that worked, but now we have private individuals we need to look at and understand how we can partner in some way, shape, or form. Thank you.
Thank you. And Candidate Johnson.
Can you repeat the question?
I can. What programs or services for youth in our community are currently working? What could be implemented or changed to improve these programs or services?
Yeah, so thank you for repeating the question, because I think there's a critical part of programs in our community. So I think of the Duluth Community School Collaborative, which provides after-school programming within our schools, who do phenomenal work with our young people in many regards. I think of Family Freedom Center, who provides a lot of opportunities for young people to kind of connect with mentors or adults and have different kind of programs available. The Youth Valley Center also has programs that are available, Mentor North. There's multitudes of opportunities, but I think one of the challenges we are facing is our young people are in a different time and in a different environment. So it would be really great to think around, how do we pull together our organizations or after-school programs that are offering these services and have conversations with young people about what they would like to see. And so I think, we talk about Parks and Rec and we talk about different things, but our young people are at a different time and in a different phase and in a different environment where technology and computers is something that they're struggling with and also really engaged with. So for me, I'd really like to kind of sit down with some young people and ask them, like, what would they like to see in our community, So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We'll start with you for the next question,
Sure.
Candidate Johnson. You may or may not be familiar with the Duluth Climate Action Work Plan, but could you speak to the role you see council having in reducing climate change effects here in Duluth?
Yeah, I appreciate the question, and I have a vague familiarity and full transparency with that plan. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really important to think around kind of climate changes that we are experiencing, and how do we kind of reduce the carbon dioxide and all the other kind of harmful pollutions that our community is facing. And so what I really like to think around is there's a lot of efforts within our community around clean energy, fresh energy, clean heat, and what does that look like for our city? And how can we also enforce it within not only our homes, but in our buildings, and be a model for how to do this as a city, as a comprehensive kind of plan moving forward? And how do we engage our partners in a thoughtful way to support the work that they've been involved with for decades, in all honesty, and kind of think through what are the resources they need and how can we best support that effort to move forward. So I want to ensure that that plan does not get retracted in any way, shape, or form moving forward, and that we actually kind of move it forward and become a model throughout the country for what a city can do and offer.
Thank you. Candidate Tomanek.
Thank you. The City Council voted to declare a climate emergency in Duluth, I believe it was 2 years ago. So now, every time we make a decision about a piece of large equipment, say a new fire truck, we are always asking the question, how does that truck influence the environment, and are there pieces of equipment that we can buy that will be less harmful to the environment? We have a goal of 2030 of making our city carbon neutral, and that is, like I said, the lens that we look at every decision that we make. We look through that. An interesting study that's being done within the city government is that of salt and how we salt our streets. So Jeff Vukolich, I was able to get $150,000 to fund a study to find out how we could use less salt on our roads and our streets, because that salt goes into our streams. It actually coats the bottom of the streams and also runs off into Lake Superior. So by using some of our city funds judiciously to allow the city employees to come up with really effective ways. I serve on the Public Utilities Commission, and we are always looking at ways of making the machinery more effective and less polluting for our environment.
Thank you. Candidate Medved.
Thank you. And I too do serve on the Public Utility Commission, and I did in my previous term. And I think to the point of, looking at public utility, the infrastructure, many upgrades that we will be tasked with moving forward for additional runoff, stuff like that, really planning ahead and being proactive on how we, position ourselves for city infrastructure is one of the top tiers. Number two, I think the major concern with being carbon neutral or looking at being carbon neutral by a certain time is money. And I would say money that we do not have, that we will need to look towards the city government or the state government and the federal government for resources, because we just do not have the resources to accommodate, I believe at this time, large scale purchases or investments in areas to curb climate change. And I believe that when we try to push a change to the general public who are struggling to put food on the table, heat their home, or make ends meet is really, really concerning. And so we need to look towards our state legislatures and our federal delegation and say, how can we do better? We need resources and funds and build relationships with those partners, because we're going to need all the help we can get.
Thank you, Candidate Medved. We will go to you first for the next question.
Sounds good.
Okay. With all of the events in Duluth and the high number of visitors, should recycling be a priority, and how could the city implement a more visible and successful program?
I always remember growing up, to answer your question, yes, I believe there's always room to improve. And I believe growing up there was always a campaign for, use, reuse, or use, reuse, recycle. And I think we can really definitely focus on areas to improve on that marketing or that way to encourage additional recycling. And so I believe partnering with waste management, partnering with hotels to ensure that we're doing all we can to encourage recycling and the benefits around it, because truly education is everything. And I look at the Duluth Public Schools and how we learned through EE class and how we understood the ramifications, but also the benefits of recycling. And so I think 1, marketing, 2, partnership, and 3, just really educating on how we can move forward and do better.
Thank you. Candidate Johnson?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. With all the events in Duluth and the high number of visitors, should recycling be a priority, and how could the city implement a more visible and successful program?
Yes, recycling should always be a priority. And I think of all the events that happen potentially, like Canal Bayfront area, I think even around the parks where we have music in the parks. But I also want to think through, is there another opportunity that we might not be thinking around in regards to what we are providing people to utilize? So if we think of, there's a lot of plastic potentially, and how do we reduce the use of plastic? And is there another solution where we have combustible kind of options available? And so that's just, when you ask that question, it's something that came to mind, is recycling is a priority, but it's also a challenge because you're trying to provide opportunities for people to recycle, but the behavior of people has to change. So in order to actually do the recycling process. But I think the more that we make it visible, the more that we recognize that. And I would really like us to push a little further and think, what are other options we can consider that might be more sustainable and more friendly to our environment, kind of in moving forward? And so thank you for the question.
Thank you. Candidate Tomanek.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to give big credit to the Clean and Safe team and to Parks and Rec, because they do so much in keeping our downtown and our much used venues like Bayfront clean and devoid of litter. When I walk the Lake Walk, and I have put on over 6,000 miles over the past 20 years with my walking partner, every morning the Parks and Rec maintenance people are out there with trucks. They're picking up the garbage. They're raking the lawns. They're really taking care of those plants, watering the plants that were just put in to take care of them. Out at Brighton Beach, we had that FEMA money from the stormwater damage, and when you go out there, it is so beautifully done. There are receptacles for recycling and garbage about every 100 feet. The tables are made out of sustainable material so that we don't have to be replacing them every 10 years. And I'd like to also call out WLSSD, which has rebranded as Resource Renewal, and they are making efforts to make our water as clean as possible. It would be interesting to see if we could have a larger composting effort on the part of the city. That would have to be balanced with the safety of having organic material, and how would we take care of that. Also, the deck has changed the way they heat and cool the deck to a much more sustainable form, so that we were wasting so much energy on the way it was heated before. So I think we've made great progress. We have a ways to go yet.
Thank you. We'll start with you for the next question,
Sure.
Candidate Tomanek. There is still a large Duluth population of unsheltered adults lacking safe housing, services, and resources in our community. What initiatives would you support to further recognize them as residents and address their needs?
Can you read that last sentence?
Yes. What initiatives would you support to further recognize them as residents and address their needs?
I think we've done a lot this year, and it's been really important work. The City Council fully supported Safe Bay in moving from the Damiano Center because of construction up to the Vineyard Church, and I'm very grateful to that church for opening up their parking lot and providing services that for people that need to be there. People are safe, they can sleep in their cars and get up and go to work the next day. That's really important. The city, I was co-author of one of the resolutions where we gave the Damiano Center $1 million in order to help complete the renovation of the third floor, while Chum is doing the remodel so that they may house more people. We're overcome with the same problem that's happening throughout our country, and when we see these federal cuts, it's going to be more important for our city to step up and do this work. But we need to partner with our nonprofits and our churches. Union Gospel Mission is seeking the finishing part of their funding so that they can build housing for people. Churches have opened their doors. As I mentioned before, Peace Church has built out a place for youth 18 to 22 to be housed, and we've had tremendous success there in getting those young people permanent housing. So we also built the building across from the co-op. I can't remember the name of the apartment, but it is a beautiful space for chronically unhoused youth to have a beautiful place to live. And up with Braveview coming up for seniors. So we're really making progress.
Thank you. Candidate Medved.
You know, I think my concern has always been that people want to turn homelessness into a political conversation, and it should never be a political conversation. On my last time serving, I really was very supportive and worked hard with Councilor Cypress and other authors on it, but for the crisis response team. Not only is the homeless population looking for shelter, but also mental health care. And something I'm very passionate about is mental health care. And each individual person is faced with a different story. And I think when we try to put it all into one conversation, that should never be the case. And we need to understand mental health, addiction. There are many reasons behind homelessness, but we need to care about the individual themselves and understand how do we get that one individual to move forward and focus on a case-by-case basis. But, I think for partnerships like, now working with the county for the crisis response funding, it's going to take a multiple, team effort to get things done and people taken care of. But I never want to make it about politics, and I think we got to see that firsthand for the, I think it's the Peace Lutheran Church up, over the hill for the response bay. And it's very concerning that we need to focus on it on a different level and take politics out of the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Johnson.
Can I ask you to read the question one more time, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
There is still a large Duluth population of unsheltered adults lacking safe housing, services, and resources in our community. What initiatives would you support to further recognize them as residents and address their needs?
So I think there's two really critical ones happening right now. The Stepping On Up is taking place, who has done phenomenal work around Safe Bay and kind of the warming center in our community. I think also Union Gospel, the kind of partnership that has happened with the city, county, and state to kind of really kind of begin to move that opportunity forward for Union Gospel, which has additional units. I think everyone wants to feel like they belong. And so I think the important thing is that, and as somebody who has lived on the streets as a young child, that you want to feel like you belong and you are seen. And so for me, I think I've been a part of the Lived Experience Council at the county. I started an initiative called Streetwise, where we gather people to have, let their voices be heard, to kind of, they have a project called Humanize the Homeless that's going to be coming out, I foresee, in the near future. But I think in the Brewery Creek project, which was phenomenal in regards to 32 units of housing, particularly for our young people who have been unstably housed. And so I think for us, they are our relatives, they are our residents, they are our neighbors. And when we treat them like human beings and say hi, it goes a long way. And those small pieces need to kind of be a part of the larger vision of how we start to kind of really embrace everyone in our community, because I know for a fact most people don't want to be unstably housed throughout their life. So thank you for the question.
Thank you. And we'll start with you for the next question. Housing projects and construction are happening everywhere in Duluth, it seems. Mm-hmm. What types of housing are still needed, especially for the constituents across the city?
There are multiple housing projects in the works and many plans that are being also proposed and thinking through what that looks like. For me, I think around fair housing, we talk a lot about affordable housing, but affordable means rental rates that are affordable. I think we also kind of need to think around reviewing kind of any zoning laws or regulations to also add additional kind of and potentially fast track some housing opportunities if they are invested in our community. And so I want to make sure that anybody who's developing housing is invested in our community. And part of those housing projects, I also think about our unions. So we want to make sure project labor agreements are in place, prevailing wages, community benefits are all part of what the city is kind of has emphasized in regards to project and funding opportunities. I think there's many opportunities we haven't explored in regards to, I think of potentially, it's called missing middle housing, where we can have potentially like fourplexes where people wouldn't rent them, but they could potentially own them and build some asset and gain some wealth through that process, where they're not owning a huge house, but they might be owning a small portion of a fourplex, invested in it, and build some generational wealth that way for people who might not necessarily have the opportunity. I think also One Roof and kind of some other banking opportunities where loans are provided for low-income people with no credits, don't have the credit score, is another way to think around how to move people into housing and provide different housing opportunities ahead. So thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Tomanek.
Yes. Oh, thank you. We have been building so much housing. I was trying to make a list, and the list, there wasn't enough time to even begin with that. But we need housing at all levels. We need affordable housing. We need to shelter people who have not been in stable housing. We need market rate housing, and we do need high-end housing. The affordable housing, we talked before about Brewery Creek, Brayview, and Harbor Highlands, where people are getting housing that is supplemented so that they can afford it. It ranges from 30 to 80% of AMI, and that's really important that we allow people, especially families, to get into housing that they can afford. Market rate, the example of it now is Lakeview 333. We are going to add hundreds of apartments there for people who want to work at the hospitals and live downtown and work. We have the development that's coming with the Ordine building that should be opening pretty soon, and that I hope will just be the first of many commercial buildings that will be reimagined and turned into a really livable place for people that want to live, recreate, work downtown. The higher end also is needed because it really adds to our tax base. And an example of that is the condominiums on Woodland. That developer could have made single-family homes, but it would have had a much greater impact on more concrete, more runoff. Instead, we're doing high-density housing, which is what we really need, providing housing in small spaces for a large number of people, and again, increasing our economic base.
Thank you. Candidate Medved.
Thank you. And I would like to say, right, there's many developments happening, but not enough. And I think that we definitely most definitely need it at all income levels. But when I think of the perfect scenario, the perfect neighborhood, I think of Morgan Park, right, the former industry town for U.S. Steel, and how they had it laid out. Couldn't be more perfect, that you had units across the alley from single family homes. You had some of the supervisor or attendants living in the same neighborhood on the same block. But I think it truly encouraged people to dream big and say, you know what, I'm going to live there someday. And that did happen to my grandma. She would look out her kitchen sink or washing dishes and see her dream home across the alley and encourage them to pursue that. And she lived there for almost 50 years. And again, I think of my mom, for housing. I don't want to say housing, but I want to say a home. We want to give people a home where they're going to plant their roots for the next 50 years, raise a family, and contribute to their neighborhood. But for her, one of the most proud things she did in her lifetime was own her home and take care of it. And I want to give anybody that opportunity who wants it here in Duluth. And we need to find a solution, or a recipe, we'll call it, that works, because there is a recipe out there that allows families on a clear path to get to that home ownership. And what is it? It's going to be the right partner, maybe some assistance from the state. And we look up in Hermantown how that was done, the Jackson Project, which I'm very interested in. And I think that's a model that we can definitely look into and hope to pursue down the range. So thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll move to our last question. Candidate Medved, we'll start with you. What is an important challenge facing our city that we have not addressed in these questions?
Oh, that's a deep one. Let me think on that. Can you ask it one more time?
Mm-hmm. What is an important challenge facing our city that has not been addressed so far in these questions?
So for me, I always like to look through the business lens, right, or the competitive lens of my day job, because I think that is one of my strengths. But for us, I think we need to look at ourselves as a business format that we have many other competitors, many other businesses looking to take our residents, take our industry, take our employees, and they're doing a pretty darn good job at it. And I think it needs to start raising alarm bells that we're losing public safety officials, fire, police, to other municipalities, the county. We have a lot of competition in our region that we need to start taking very seriously and understand how we can retain them here, whether it be benefits, whether it be pay scale. And I don't say do a better job because I give the folks a lot of credit, who are in public service today. But we need to look at that as a major concern, because we're losing a lot of talent, and we have a lot of amazing, talented, and dedicated people who have been here through COVID, through a lot of hard times, and we want to retain them and have them grow with us, but also the residents. And as I will say, Councilor Kennedy would always say this, and I took it from her, but we're open for business, and we want that to be well known across the state, across the nation, but also on the local level here, that we are ready, willing, and able to do a lot of great things and have tough conversations. So I would probably say that is another one. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Johnson.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is caring for our workforce. And so I think we need to kind of protect our workers, make sure that they have living wages, that they have benefits, ensure people arrive home safely at the end of the day to their families and their loved ones and their animals, that they have good opportunities to engage with mental health and just regular health kind of care needs if they need it. Our workforce is what makes our city operate. And so supporting our unions, supporting our kind of public safety officials, who are our first responders in many regards, are critical pieces to take into consideration. And alongside thinking around our first responders, we also need to think around community safety. Like not just, I'm not talking public safety, community safety. Everyone in our community wants to feel safe. Whether it's somebody who doesn't have a place to stay at the end of the day, or somebody who is in domestic violence circumstances. We've seen too many in recent kind of previous months in regards to people who have lost their lives due to kind of unforeseen circumstances. And so, but I do feel like we need to really kind of create a culture of care, particularly around our workforce and supporting our workers, because they are the ones who keep us operating day in and day out, whether that's from our healthcare professionals to our building and trades and to our public first responders. So thank you.
Thank you. And candidate Tomanek.
Thank you. I have to say, I don't think there's one challenge that's not been addressed, and I don't think there are many challenges that have not started to be addressed. I have 6 that have all had starts. First is the city budget. We have to figure out how we're going to cover all our needs every year, but especially this year when there have been cuts at the federal, the state, the county, and we're hoping not too many cuts to the LGA. We have to pay our public employees fairly, and we have to be able to balance our budget. So that is a huge challenge. We also have the segmentation of neighborhoods. I see that, the East is concerned about, is the West getting, we have to just start thinking of our city more wholly, and that's the role of an at-large city councilor, is demonstrating to our constituents that we're working for the whole city, that we're involved with the districts, but we also want to move this city forward as a whole. We know about streets. We have really started on that. We're now fixing over 19 miles every year compared to 2 miles, but we have 400 miles of streets in this city, so that is a challenge. Housing, we talked about before. Childcare. How can we provide more and more childcare? In Brayview that I talked about before, we will have 110 new spots opening up, a combination of work by Essentia and the YMCA, so that's fabulous. The environment, with a slashing of funding for the EPA, how are we going to protect our lake? That is going to be a huge concern. We've also got so many lead lines and aging infrastructure in our city, but we are getting money from the state. We're replacing those lead lines consistently, so we hope to have that done. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we will ask each candidate to give a 2-minute closing statement. We'll hear first from candidate Tomanek.
Thank you. And I want to thank the League for hosting this forum with my fellow candidates. The choice of your representatives on the council is a very important one, and this opportunity to address our pressing city issues allows you, the voters, to make informed choices in the upcoming primary and general elections. My life experience as a business owner, homeowner, healthcare worker, and chaplain, as well as my 5 years on the council, allow me to serve the city with deep listening skills and an attitude of pragmatism with the heart. That expression, pragmatism with the heart, was given to me by the former city administrator, Dave Montgomery. And Dave paid me the highest compliment I've received in 5 years. He said, "Terese, you and I meet every other week together, and I pretty much know how you think, but I never know how you're going to vote on every issue." And that was such a compliment because it says, I look at every individual issue and I vote after listening to our constituents, studying it, talking to the administration, and trying to find the best answer that will help our whole city. My top 3 priorities for the coming 4 years are vibrant neighborhoods, the city budget, and community safety. For an expanded view of those issues, you can visit my website, voteterese.com. You can also contact me by email, and all the counselors' email address is on the website. My personal phone number is also on that website. Today, you have heard my priorities and values. I look forward to hearing yours.
Thank you. Candidate Medved, your closing statement.
Thank you. Again, thank you to the Duluth voters and anybody who may have been listening here today. If we've discussed things that are on your mind or in your heart, would love to discuss them further. My favorite saying is, always up for a good cup of coffee, and so would love to have those further discussions. But I believe people are now passionate and have been passionate about a lot of topics that are on their mind, and whether they have been been able to discuss those with anybody, I would love to have those conversations if they're ready, willing, and able. And so I would hope to, get together with anybody that may want to have those discussions. But I would love to serve you once again as an at-large counselor for the city of Duluth. And I'm very open to getting together and having any, conversations that may be needed. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Candidate Johnson.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for all who are viewing this, and thank you again for your time and energy in kind of making this happen, to offer the opportunity for our voters to connect with us in a different way. With my lived experience and professional background, I'm committed to protecting our workforce, community safety, and identifying fair and affordable housing options. And for me, a long-term vision for the city is to revitalize neighborhoods, which initiates economic growth. And so I am invested in a direction for a city that fosters a welcoming atmosphere and a sense of belonging. And we are in a unique time politically. I mean, I believe in the possibilities ahead for our city, even with the budget shortfalls, where all community members feel a sense of hope. I know what it means to focus my time and energy, ask critical questions when needed, and also analyze issues being presented. I'm effective in collaborating with people to create solutions and policies, even if we might have disagreements. So Duluth, again, is filled with wealth, knowledge, trades, and community values. Together we can recognize what came before us, what to expand on, given what we have today, and we can make strategic investments in our neighborhoods. We can create lasting communities for our children and grandchildren, where they will want to call it home forever. And so please visit my website, jordonforduluth.com, to learn more about myself and initiatives. I would be honored just to kind of connect with you in the future and appreciate the time of being here with my co-candidates as well. So.
Well, thank you. This concludes the candidate forum for the City Council at-Large seats here in Duluth. It is our purpose in sponsoring events such as this to provide you with an opportunity to hear candidates discuss issues that are important to you. There is never enough time to cover all the issues in a limited time setting. If your questions were not addressed, you should feel free to contact the candidates directly. We hope this helps you to learn more about the candidates and the issues so that you can make informed choices at the polls on Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. We thank the candidates, PACT-TV, and the viewers of this forum. PACT-TV will broadcast this forum and others. Check their listings for a schedule of times. The forums will also be posted on the League of Women Voters of Duluth website, lwvduluth.org. Thank you.
Thank you.